I love the Winter Olympics. I like the Summer Olympics, but I love the Winter Olympics. I guess that every sport is a little more entertaining when the competition surface is icy. I love the sports of the Winter Olympics. I love ski jumping, I love figure skating, I love curling and snowboard cross. I love skeleton, where a person lays down on a cafeteria tray and slides headfirst down an ice luge. I love them all, except ice dancing, because ice dancing is figure skating without jumping, and that's silly. So before the Winter Olympics approach every 4 years, I have to clear off my DVR so that I can record every event and watch them. Last night I watched 3.5 hours of figure skating and some event I'd never seen before where you ski moguls and also go over jumps. It was amazing. And it's not just the sports. I love everything about the Winter Olympics. I love the pageantry. I love the sense of national pride. I love the message of a community of nations coming together for the pure sake of sport. I love the sportsmanship and the honor of it all. I love the surprise upsets and the shattered records. I love the pre-recorded TV packages of stories of human triumph and young men and women who are making their hometowns proud. I love pretending I've been following these athletes' careers studiously for the past 4 years. I'm a sucker for the NBC Olympic theme music. It's a miracle I'm not home right now watching the opening ceremonies. Don't worry, it's on the DVR. My love for the Olympics may prevent me from thinking as critically as I'd like. I don't want to know about the controversies. It ruins the idealism. Still, while I am glued to the TV, I catch glimpses of it out of the corner of my eye. I am aware of the corruption in the IOC, the suspect process for choosing countries to host. I am not blind to the economic and environmental impact of transforming these cities to prepare them for the games the way it benefits some and harms others. I have not missed the doping scandals that make us question which records were shattered fairly. I know that when we set our athletes up as superheroes, we position them to disappoint us and themselves when we discover that they are, in fact, human. I know how blurry the line is between national pride and jingoism. This is the tension of the Olympic Games. For all their idealism and hopefulness, they exist like everything else in the real world. We hoist high the Olympic rings, perhaps so that we cannot see from a distance that they are scuffed and dented in places. Idealism tends to tarnish when you get too close to it. Last week's Torah portion was about idealism, the revelation at Sinai and the giving of the Ten Commandments. It was high drama that would put even the most epic Olympic opening ceremonies to shame. The thunder and the lightning, the fire and the smoke, the people trembled in awe. And then they are presented with 10 clear, simple rules, clear and concise, all under the simple header, I am the eternal your God. Keep one God, do not swear falsely by God's name, celebrate Shabbat and honor your parents, do not murder or steal, lie, cheat, or covet. It's the very basics for society. The Decalogue is an idealistic directive for human decency. I can imagine what the people thought when the smoke had cleared and their ears stopped ringing. That's it. That's easy enough. But that's not the world we live in. It's not enough to just say, keep Shabbat and don't steal or murder, and that'll govern society. We are more complicated than that. So the section that immediately follows the revelation of the Ten Commandments is this week's Torah portion, Mishpatim. On the heels of these 10 rules, God says to Moses, Ve'ele hamishpatim asher tasim, these are the rules that I will set before them. And off we go on a whole list of laws. This parsha follows up the simple 10 with 53 more. Laws about slaves, laws about punishing murderers, laws about what to do with violent animals, and laws about protecting widows and orphans, laws that forbid cheating a laborer, and laws that describe the sacrifice of the first fruits of our labors. It is as if God is saying, I know it's not so simple. These laws acknowledge that even though murder is outlawed, we will still have to deal with murderers. It's a stunning and at the same time obvious admission people will not behave in accordance with our ideals. I was teaching my 9th graders this week about business ethics, a topic, by the way, that they requested. So just chew on that for a minute. After a few minutes of discussion, one of the students said, I don't know why we're even bothering. People will always lie and cheat in business. Another piped in, it's like the prisoner's dilemma. Why should we act ethically if we think the other person is not going to? I swear, by the way, that he said that, which means that my class on Jewish ethics is working. These are some very smart and very philosophical 9th graders. It's true, I said. We live in a world where some people will be dishonest. Our challenge is to figure out how to be ethical people in that world. It's like the challenge of doping in the Olympics. If your competitors are doing it, then your choices are to cheat with them or watch as they soar right past you towards the finish line. But I went on to say that ethics don't tell us how other people should behave. They only tell us how we should behave. In Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers, Hillel says, "B'makom she'ein anashim hishtadel lihyot ish." In a place where there are no people, strive to be a person. In other words, don't worry about them. Do what you know is right. This is the challenge of the religious project, the human project, to live with ideals in a world that is not ideal, to live with a vision in a world where the flaws are clearly visible, to be hopeful without being naive. This is the life of faith, to see the world as it is and as it could be, to buy glasses that are not only rose-colored but also prescription, that focus our view even as they lift our eyes towards the horizon. The God of the Torah does not think that 10 commandments are enough. God does not kid God's self that we will all live up to that ideal. Rather, God gives us 10 commandments and then follows them immediately with 53 more. Don't just hope for the best, God says. Act to make it so. The stories in this part of Exodus are confusing chronologically. It's hard to know what takes place when. For instance, the scene of the golden calf, which we're going to read about in a couple of weeks, which is, of course, the ultimate expression of what happens when we fail to live up to our ideals. It seems to come later in the narrative than you would think it should. It's why the rabbis chose to read this whole section as if it's happening simultaneously. There's stuff up on the top of the mountain and stuff going on down at the bottom. They seem to admit that the scenes are out of order. But read in order, it seems like Moses keeps going up and down Mount Sinai over and over again. He's up talking to God, then he's down talking to the people, then he's hiking back up into the clouds. I imagine Moses would have killed for a chairlift or an ice luge. And maybe this isn't accidental. Maybe it's not an editing snafu. To live as a Jew is to live in both spaces, at the top of the mountain and at its foot, with our head in the clouds and our feet planted firmly on earth. We are neither to turn a blind eye to the challenges of our day, nor to wallow in them. We can live with hope and faith in tomorrow without letting it undermine our responsibility in the here and now. So this is the truth I will try and hold this year as I watch hours and hours and hours of Olympic coverage. The games are not perfect, nor am I required to pretend that they are. I can love the Olympics without having to ignore or apologize for its faults. I can revel in a sense of the brotherhood of nations without forgetting the facts on the ground. Only by acknowledging our faults can we expect better. Had God stopped at 10 commandments, we would not have been better off. But God didn't. God gave us rules that acknowledged our frailties, even as God tried to inspire our aspirations. Just like the Olympics, Judaism teaches me that I can hold both truths, the ideal and the reality. I can be at the top of the mountain and at the bottom, and hopefully see a 6 ski jump in between. Shabbat Shalom. We continue